Yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy Monkua back with another video, and I'm sorry if I sound tired right now. I just got off of work and it's currently 3 a.m. where I live at, and I am really tired, so please bear with me. Also, this video is going to be completely uncut, so excuse me for any stutters or mispronounced words. It's going to happen, I know they will. It's kind of a habit. But I'm going to be going over macros, add-ons, all the talents individually, and I'm going to tell you why I chose them and why they benefit you while leveling. I'm also going to go over your rotation as a rogue, what to do, like when to use your cooldowns and what spells to use while fighting NPCs. And it's going to be kind of a lengthy video. I'm not really sure how long it's going to be, so sorry if you guys, were looking for a short guide. If so, this video isn't the one for you. But let's just hop right into the talents. Whenever you hit level 10 and 11, you want to go with Improved Sinister Strike. Reduces the energy cost of your Sinister Strike by 5. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it really helps. When fighting a mob, you're able to get more Sinister Strikes in, get more combo points faster, do a lot more damage. As a rogue, your main sources of damage are your auto attack damage, your auto attacks, and your Sinister Strike, followed up by your poisons. So just being able to get your Slice and Dice up quicker and use Sinister Strike more often will improve your damage significantly as a rogue. After that, I went into Gouge. Increases the effect duration of your Gouge ability by 1.5 seconds. Now this doesn't seem like it's useful. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But when fighting a mob, let's say the mob's at 80% health and I'm at 20%, I can Gouge and start bandaging. And the shorter your gouge is, the shorter, lesser amount of bandage ticks that you're going to get. So without this talent, you can get maybe 4 ticks of bandage, giving you like 50 to 60% health. But with this talent, it allows you to get that full duration of bandage off and just topping you off to 100% health, and it's really useful in some situations. That's really important to run. After that, I went into Deflection. The reason I went into Deflection first before Hit is to get Riptos. You want to get Riptos as early as possible because Riptos is a really good spell that does a lot of damage when it does proc, and the 6-second disarm is really important because whenever you disarm an enemy, 80% of the mobs that you're going to fight do have weapons, and when you disarm them, it's going to take away their weapon, obviously, and that's going to reduce their damage significantly, and you'll notice it. Instead of them hitting you for 6% each attack, it's down to 1% each attack. So Riptos is really important, and it does seem to proc a lot. And when it procs and you use it, I believe it does around 20% of a target's health. It's really useful. And then the extra 5% parry is never bad, but you do have to go Deflection to get Riptos. So after you get Riptos and Deflection, you want to go into Precision. Increases the chance to hit with melee weapons by 5%. Now this is really useful because, as we all know, while Classic, you resist, you miss, you dodge, you parry so much more than Retail. So just having that extra 5% chance to guarantee that your weapons will hit more really will help out your damage by a lot. And then after that, it unlocks Dual Specialization, which is more the reason to run Precision. It increases the damage done by your offhand weapon by 50%. Now all rogues are dual wield, and most of your damage, as I said before, comes from your auto attacks. So having this extra damage coming from your weapons will increase your auto attack damage by a lot. Therefore increasing your overall DPS and damage by a lot, a pretty good bit. So you want to have 5 points into Precision and run 5 points into Dual Spec. And after this, I came down and got Blade Fury. Blade Fury is really important. You always want to have this running combat because it allows you to do up to 2 to 3 mobs per pull rather than just one, and you can burst them both down pretty quick. It increases your attack speed by 20%, also strikes an additional nearby opponent. So if you pull 2 mobs and you're focusing down one, all of your damage is going onto that other mob as well. So by the time you finish your first mob, your second mob will be around like 20%, 30% health, and you can just hit a couple Sinister Strikes into him and then he'll die. But now if you pull 3 mobs, the main guy you're focusing down will take all of your damage, and then your the damage that's being split up with Blade Fury will even out between those other 2 mobs. So it'll go to whoever has higher health. So it won't be as effective pulling 3 mobs than it would be 2. So I recommend only pulling 2 to 3 mobs with Blade Fury. It's not like an AoE, Blizzard or anything where you can just pull 10 mobs and cleave them all down. You do have to minimize your pulls to at least 3 with this. After this, you want to go to Aggression. Aggression is really important because or well, not aggression, sword spec, my bad, I just skipped one. Sword specialization, 5 out of 5, because it gives you a 5% chance to get an extra attack on the same target after dealing damage with your sword. Now, you don't have to run this. Like I said before, you can run dagger spec if you want to run daggers. You can run, fist weapon spec if you want to run fist weapons, which I don't see why not. I don't see why run that because fist weapons are kind of rare. So, if you like that ambushing and backstabbing, then run dagger. But swords do the most damage from, auto attacks and everything. So sword spec is the best one to run. But all it does, after you swing your weapon and hit, it has a 5% chance to swing it again and hit, and that's just double the damage in one hit. So it really increases your damage when it does happen to proc. After sword spec, you want to go into aggression. And aggression is really, really important because it increases the damage done by your Sinister Strike and Eviscerate by 6%. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is a lot. And being that Sinister Strike is the main source of damage from a rogue, alongside of your auto attacks, it really helps out your overall damage. And you don't really start using Eviscerate until you get improved Slice and Dice. So Eviscerate damage, isn't really all that great until maybe level 45-ish. After aggression, you get Adrenaline Rush, and this isn't the best for questing. I mean, yeah, it is good because if you're about to die or you have to fight an elite quest mob or something, you can use this and it helps you out. But it's mainly good for dungeon fights, those boss fights that are kind of hard. You pop this and you're guaranteed top DPS in the dungeon group, or for a raid group on them boss fights, you use Adrenaline Rush and you're top DPS for those 15 seconds. It's really, really good damage. Increases your energy regeneration rate by 100% for 15 seconds, so make sure you guys get this. And after that, you're going to finish up combat. I'm going to go over to Assassination. And I started out with Malice just because I wanted to, just because I wasn't using Eviscerate as much leveling, so I didn't really see there was a point to go Eviscerate. But you do start using that more once you get improved Slice and Dice. So I went Malice, increases your critical strike chance by 5%. This is really, really good because, a normal Sinister Strike would hit at my level, maybe let's say 300-ish. With a crit, it'll hit like, 500. So those crits are really, really nice. And just having that crit for your auto attacks, you might not, most people think, okay, my Sinister Strike, my Eviscerate doesn't really crit that much, so why run it, etc. But your auto attacks, they do a lot of damage. If you are currently leveling a rogue, I'm sure you know this. So just having that extra crit for your auto attacks, bump your auto attack damage up by like maybe 200 per swing to like 250, 300 per swing. So it's really, really nice. And then after that, you want to go improve Slice and Dice. What this does is it just increases the duration of your Slice and Dice ability by 45%. So if I have 2 combo points, it gives me 12 seconds. One combo point gives me 9 instead of like 6 or 7, etc. So you can use combo Slice and Dice and then have those extra combo points instead of like whenever your Slice and Dice is coming off, you won't have to worry about reapplying Slice and Dice. It'll still be up, with this talent, so you can use those combo points into Eviscerate or something else. So then after Slice and Dice, I went into Lethality, and this increased the critical strike damage bonus of your Sinister Strike, Gouge, Backstab, Ghostly Strike, and Hemorrhage abilities by 18%. This isn't really useful for anything but Sinister Strike. If you are running dagger specialization and you do have a dagger, then yes, you can gouge, and if it crits, that's doing a lot of damage. But being that I'm running double swords, just because swords do a lot more damage, and I'm not a big fan of backstab or ambush because of the amount of energy you spend on them, I just run double sword, and this talent just improves my damage from Sinister Strike, and it helps out with Sinister Strike. Like, Gouge doesn't really do a lot of damage, so that's kind of useless. Ghostly Strike is in Subtlety, so that's kind of useless. Hemorrhage is in Subtlety, so that's kind of useless. So it just really helps out Sinister Strike, and if you are running daggers, backstab. After you get Lethality, 5 out of 5, you want to go into Vile Poisons, and then put the rest of your talents into Vile Poisons. This increases the damage dealt by your poisons by 4%, and gives your poisons an additional 8% chance to resist the spell effects. So your poisons are your 3rd most damaging ability, your auto attacks being the 1st, and Sinister Strike being the 2nd. So having that extra damage in your poisons, you're always going to be running double instant poisons unless you are in a situation where a mob has a lot of HP or you're PvPing, then you'll have crippling poison on so you can kite them better. And so having those double instant poisons and just having that extra 4% or 8%, whatever, however many talents that you put in the vial poisons is really useful and increases your damage overall. So after you get vial poisons, that caps out on your talents. Then we're gonna go ahead and go over my add-ons. And then the add-ons that I use, I don't have a whole lot of add-ons. There's a lot more that I could be using, but the ones that I do use is AtlasLoot. And let's say, for example, I'm running Dead Mines, right? And I'm going to Edwin Van Cleef. I'm on Edwin Van Cleef, and I want to see what he drops. What loot does he drop? So I go over to AtlasLoot. I just click this right here and go to Dead Mines. Click Dead Mines. Go to Edwin Van Cleef, and then it tells me that he drops a back, a cape, or a chest piece that is cloth, or some really good rogue, a really good rogue chest, or a really good sword. By the way, guys, this sword is best in slot up until like level 30ish, maybe a little higher depending on what quest you do, etc. So if you get this sword from Edwin Van Cleef and Dead Mines, make sure you guys hold on to that for as long as possible until you get an upgrade. It's going to be 12 attack powers, and the damage from it's really good. But yeah, AtlasLoot just tells me what drops off a boss. I'm sure you guys know this. So like let's go to Magmadar. He drops some rogue pants. Yeah, right here. He drops Night Slayer pants, and that's like really good for rogues. So it just tells you what every single boss drops in every single dungeon or raid. And then after that, I got I used Azeroth Autopilot. I tried it, and this pretty much just tells you which quest to grab in order. So let's say you're level 1, you're starting out. It'll tell you what quest to grab, what quest to do, what order to do them in. It's pretty much a speedrun guide for a speedrun add-on for level 1 to 60. It'll just tell you what order to do your quest, where to get the quest, and it has a little arrow on your screen telling you where to go to do that quest. It also puts on the your mini map where your main map and your mini map where the quest items are. So it's kind of similar to Questi, but the reason I don't use it is because it's kind of buggy, really buggy actually, and if it bugs out once, you kind of have to reset the whole add-on, and it's a complicated process, so I'm not a big fan of it. Then after this, I have Best in Slot Tracker. What this does is, let's say you open up your character panel and you click this little arrow and you go to class. You can pick any class you want. I'm a rogue, obviously. I use swords. So after I click my rogue, the class, and then spec, you see all this gear right here, and it's every single piece that you can equip, and it's like your pre-raid best in slot. So all this gear comes from dungeons or quests. None of it comes from raids. This is the best gear that you can have going into raids. So before you start running your raids, you want to try and get all this gear. So for example, these weapons, these 2 swords that are really good. One of them drops off War Chief Rin Blackhand and Blackrock Spire, has a 4% chance to drop, and then the other one drops off of that same boss and has an 8% chance to drop. And then for example, this crossbow drops off of Shadow Hunter Bolsh, I don't know how to say that, from Blackrock Spire, and has a 6% chance to drop. So this add-on pretty much tells you, where to get your gear and what's the chance of it dropping, your pre-raid best in slot. That's why I use that. So once I get to 60, or well actually currently level 54, I'm running those dungeons trying to get those best in slot pieces. So after Best in Slot Tracker, I have ClassicAuraDuration. And what this does is, you guys have been seeing it in my videos and asking me about it. So I have a buff right here, and it tells me the duration on it, 11 minutes remaining, and it has the little line, and it shows a transparency difference. If I'm versing a mage, or for example, let's say another rogue, for example, and that rogue uses evasion or a big cooldown, it'll tell me that he used it, and it'll tell me how long he has left on it. So if I'm versing another rogue and he pops evasion, it'll tell me, okay, look, he has 8 seconds left on it, and I can actually see it up there. Like, my phone just popped up doing some dumb Google shit. I don't know what my phone's tripping. But it just tells me how much longer and what spell he's currently used. So if I'm versing a mage and he uses Ice Block, it'll tell me how much more longer he has on it, etc. And then after this add-on, I have ClassicCastBars. What this does, it just puts a cast bar underneath your in Classic you couldn't see what the enemy was casting, so you had to look at their hand movements, etc. But for this add-on, if I'm casting anything, I'm a rogue, so I don't really have much to cast. I'm using Hearthstone as an example. It just tells me that I'm casting Hearthstone and how much longer till it completes. And if I kick this or stun it or gouge it, it'll show interrupted and turn red. It's really, really useful for PvP especially. And it's somewhat useful in PvE versus mobs, because some mobs do cast and you can see that they're casting. Like in Zolgrub, or Zolfrak, I'm sorry, in Zolfrak, they have a lot of mobs that cast heal on themselves. So as a rogue, you're going to be the main one in charge of stopping those heals, so you can see what they're casting, when they're casting, how long, and then you can interrupt those. After ClassicCastBars, I have ClassicSpellActivations, and if you go back and watch my montage videos, you can see when I'm fighting a mob and Riptos pops up, like it procs, it highlights a big border around it and just pretty much makes it visible for me to see, oh look, I can use Riptos now. Instead of the normal one where it just increases the transparency of it, and I'm like, I sometimes miss it and I don't see that Riptos is available, and I miss that extra damage or that extra, that disarm, which is something you don't want to miss. So just make sure that you don't miss those important spells that pop up. After that, I have details. Details is just a DPS meter. It's pretty self-explanatory. You install this, and you can see how much healing you've done, how much you've healed per second, how much damage you've done, how much DPS you do. I just keep it on DPS because that's what I use, just to see how much DPS I'm doing in dungeons or while questing. After details, I have guild and faction tooltip. Now this add-on, I kind of need someone to be around me. This person isn't in a guild, but whenever you hover over someone's name and they're in a guild, or if they're Alliance or Horde, it doesn't tell you about in the bottom right. It doesn't tell you that what guild they're in. So for example, if that guy on the boat right there was in a guild, I can't see from here what his guild name is. So if I just hover over him, it'll tell me the guild in the bottom right, but he's not in a guild, so it's not going to show up. And it also tells me that he's Alliance, but we kind of already know that. So it's just pretty much useful for seeing if people are in guilds without actually having to walk up to their character. After this one, I use LeatrixMaps, and LeatrixMaps is by far one of my favorite add-on. It just tells me, it shows me where major cities are. So for example, Orgrimmar's right there. They have some towns. It tells me where the towns are. It also shows me where dungeons are. So let's say I go to Dunmorth. It'll tell me that Gnomergen is right here. It tells you where dungeons are. If I go to, let's say, Wetlands, for example, it tells me which boat goes where. So this top one goes to Darkshore. This bottom one goes to Theramore Isles. And it also shows you where flight paths are. So if I go in the Ironforge, everyone pretty much knows what a flight path is. It's right there. But it just has the little flight path icon just to make sure. Wetlands is over there, Blasted Lands, that's the flight path right there. And that's pretty much what LeatrixMap does. And it also makes the map smaller, so it's not taking up your whole screen, and you can move it around however you want, which I also like. And in addition, it actually unblurs everything for you, so you can see everything on the screen. And if I have something not explored, it'll be dark like this. And if I explored it, it'll be brightened like this. So it does tell you what you don't and do have explored still. Like right down here, it's darker. I didn't explore this, but all this I did explore. So it's pretty useful add-on. After that, I have RealMobHealth, and what this does is, for example, this guard right here, it'll tell me that she has 100% health. Normal Classic, it didn't do that. You could only see the bar. For your character, you could set it up to where you could have your own health or your percentage, but for other people, it didn't tell you how much health they had. So this add-on just pretty much allows you to see how much health they have, but I have it set as percentage. So I like to see, how much percent they have instead of having the health on there, and it kind of takes up the whole bar, so you can't see, the actual green bar going down. So if you have percentage, you can see the bar, going down, obviously. And then I've tried to use Titan Panel. Some of you guys might know what this is, but it puts a bar above your screen. And it tells you, what the time is, how much gold you have on your whole account, on your whole server. It tells you your exact location with what's it called? Coordinates. It tells you your location with coordinates. It tells you how much your durability is. So if you need to repair soon, you can check up there. It tells you your XP per hour, so how much XP you're getting per hour and how much XP you need to level. It also tells you how many mobs you need to level, so how many more mob kills. So let's say I'm fighting, some wolves in Elven Forest at level 8. It'll tell me how many more of those wolves that I have to kill in order to level. It also tells you some other things like bags. It tells you your bag space and your ammo count if you're a hunter. That's pretty much that, though. I'm not a big fan of it because it moves down your unit profile frames a little bit and it moves down your maps, and it's just a big noticeable bar up there that I do not like. VenderPrice it just tells you the price of items in your inventory. So like, let's say this thick armor kit or this Noggenfogger sells for 35 silver. If I didn't have this add-on, I wouldn't know how much it's sold for, and it's kind of annoying having to actually walk up to a vendor and be like, okay, this is what it sells for. So I can just, if I loot something that's a green or a blue or something and I want to sell it to a vendor, I can just hover over it and be like, okay, it sells for a gold, instead of actually having to go to the vendor and see how much it sells for. Daily boss mods, I'm sure everyone knows what this is. This add-on you don't really need until level 50. Once you get level 50, you start versing, more experienced and more hired, like, how do I say this? You start versing harder bosses and dungeons that require you to actually move around and do special things to. What Daily Boss Mods does is you just install the add-on, don't mess with it, and every time you fight a boss, it'll tell you what that boss is doing, what he's casting, where to go, and what to do, so that way you don't wipe or die on the boss fight. So it pretty much just helps you, during the boss encounters. Let's be honest, no one likes to be that first person in the raid to die. So if running a raid and you're fighting a boss, make sure you have Daily Boss Mods. Most guilds do require you having this add-on to run the raid. After that, I have Questi. Questi is pretty much self-explanatory. I think everyone has Questi. A lot of people know what it is. If you have a quest, it tells you where to turn it in, tells you where to get a quest, and it also tells you where to do the quest. So for example, I'm questing in Winterspring right now, and I have to kill some Yetis to get this thick Yeti fur. It tells you how many I have. I have 0 out of 10, and it tells you where they spawn at. So there's a little loot bag right here. It spawns right there, it spawns right there. They have some that spawn over here, etc. It tells you where to go to get the quest, pretty much. And then I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's all my add-ons. I don't have I don't have too many add-ons, and I also don't have that many macros. For macros, I have at the moment currently one, and it's a PvP macro, so it's not going to help you in PvE situations. So what this add-on does, this macro does, is if I'm versing a rogue or a feral, and we're both in stealth, I can use this add-on. I can spam this macro. I keep saying add-on. I can spam this macro, and it'll automatically target him in stealth. So if I'm versing a rogue and he's in stealth, I won't have to actually listen for that stealth sound to come through my headphones, or have to actually look for him. I can just pretty much stand still and just keep spamming this macro, and then whenever he passes me or I pass him, it just automatically targets him and saps him for me. So I don't have to do anything. It just targets and saps him pretty much. Alright guys, that was pretty much it for macros. Now I'm here in Winterspring, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what's the best rotation used to kill mobs. Now what you want to do is open up with a Garrett, and then get 3 combo points to Slice and Dice. And after you get those 3 points into Slice and Dice, you want to just keep spamming Sinister Strike the rest of the way until you get around, like, depending on the target's health after you Slice and Dice, let's say he's at 50% health, you want to get like 55 combo points and then Eviscerate. Or if he's at like 30%, you can get like 3 combo points and Eviscerate, 4 combo points and Eviscerate. Right here, I think I got about 4 combo points then Eviscerated, or maybe it was 3. Yeah, it was 3. So after I Eviscerated, I got a Rip Toast proc right there, and that Rip Toast did about 15% of his health, and then my auto attack just finished him off. So like I said, the main rotation is to Sinister Strike, or open with Garrett for the extra damage, and then Sinister Strike to 3 combo points, then Slice and Dice, and then spam Sinister Strike until you have enough points to Eviscerate, and then Eviscerate, and that should finish him off. And if it doesn't, then just keep pressing Eviscerate. Now I'm going to show you guys how to kill NPCs using Crippling Poison. Now this method is pretty much taking no damage while fighting, or taking the least amount of damage while fighting, but it also causes your fights to be a lot longer. So what you want to do is open with Cheap Shot, and then that gives you 2 combo points, and then you go ahead and Sinister Strike once, and if Crippling is not on them yet, you want to keep hitting them until Crippling procs, and then once Crippling procs, you want to just run away, get full energy, use your bow a little bit to do more damage, then run back, Sinister Strike, gouge again, get full combo points, and then Kidney, and just go, do whatever you want to do, however much damage. I usually just Sinister Strike. I get like 1 point combo point of Slice and Dice up, so that way it can proc Sinister Crippling Poison a lot faster. I'm stuttering so much right now. But yeah, after that, you pretty much just kite. Once Crippling procs, you just keep kiting until you get full energy, then go back, do damage, stun, gouge, do whatever you can do to avoid the target actually hitting you. And then right here at the end, I just took a lot of damage because I was kind of, messing around, didn't really care about kiting, wanted to finish the mob. But yeah, those are the 2 ways to kite using Crippling and instant, to kill mobs using both Crippling and instant poison. But that pretty much sums up this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said again, I'm sorry for stuttering or mispronouncing words. I'm really tired right now, and I do have a lot more montages coming out pretty soon, especially once I hit 60. I'm almost there, so once I hit 60, it's gonna be so much fun. I have a lot more videos coming out for you guys. Other than that, I hope you guys liked today's video, and if you did, please be sure to drop a like down below. It really means a lot to me. And comment if you have any questions. I do reply to all my comments. And this video is getting pretty lengthy right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. So you guys have a good night. I know I'm about to go to sleep, so I'm gonna have a pretty good night once I go to sleep. But I'll see you guys later. Peace.